and do some lore. One last thing before we get to the Order of the Golden Dawn. And I promise we will get to that damn secret society. We really will. But I've got to talk about another secret society before we get to that secret society. So this lore is about the Rosicrucians. Dun, dun, dun. Have you ever heard of the Rosicrucians? They still exist. Yeah. They all started in the 1600s when 3 books, or more accurately pamphlets, were published in Germany. The first in 1614, a book called Fama Fraternitas Rosae Crucis. So the fame of the Brotherhood of the Rosy Cross came out after being circulated among German occultists for a few years. In it is the story of a 14th century orphan named Father CRC, like the initial, who at the age of 16, after first being raised in a monastery, traveled to the Middle East and North Africa and studied esoteric knowledge, including physics, mathematics, magic, and Kabbalah. Upon his return to Germany, he founded the Fraternity of the Rosy Cross to share his knowledge with only 8 members initially. All of these men were unmarried and virgins. I think the virginity was coincidental and not conditional, but they weren't clear on that. The fraternity members were sent on missions worldwide after taking an oath to be healers who never requested payment for services, wore no uniform or habit, and met once a year at the Spiritus Sancta. Each member was to look for their successor. Also, they vowed that nobody talk about the Rosy Cross for 100 years. The discovery of CRC's tomb, complete with a perfectly preserved corpse, heralded the need to publish the Manifesto. CRC's tomb is thoroughly described, overly described, including that it had 7 sides divided into 3 parts and how it was filled with treasures like bells, lamps, and artificial songs. I'm not sure what artificial songs are. They remind me of fake books, but I don't think that's what they mean. So the book suggests that the fraternity is seeking like-minded individuals to join. Nobody claims authorship to this pamphlet. In 1616, another one comes out. This is the Confessio Fraternitatis, the Confession of the Brotherhood, or the Confession of the Laudable Fraternity of the Most Honorable Order of the Rosy Cross. That came out to clear up the confusion the first one caused, and it emphasized that the order is Christian and that the members who joined would learn valuable secrets. It also foretold a reformation to bring the land to an enlightened state. It furthered the public's interest in the secret society and inspired many numerous printed responses, some who took the manifestos literally and others who understood them to be allegorical. In 1616, I think I have my years wrong. This may be 1624. I'm not sure. Take one of the two. 1600s, y'all. All right, so 1600s. Third pamphlet was published, and this was The Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz, sometimes spelled many different ways, but really means rose cross, right? And so this is where we first get really the Rosicrucian comes from Rosenkreuz, or from this guy, and that's what the CRC supposedly stood for. But the chemical wedding, that wedding is a metaphor for alchemy, which is a metaphor for spiritual light. So just to be extra annoying, it's not even Christian Rosenkreuz's wedding. He's just a guest. It's a king and a queen in a castle with a cool vault, and they're the ones who are getting married. And the purpose of this book may have been to show that the other 2 manifestos were just metaphors, and there was never really a secret brotherhood. But some people took it literally, and nobody still claimed authorship of it. Most likely the author or authors were Lutheran ministers, and it may have been written as a parody or as a joke, but it's something that was, took off. But the time that it's written is during the Reformation, during the Lutheran Reformation. So it makes sense that this would be an allegory for this guy who's trying to find his inner light, right? And so these documents would come together to be basis for many Rosicrucian organizations, though the original one probably never really existed, right? That was just a metaphor. So the manifestos would make their way over to England, where they would be absorbed by those who were practicing Freemasonry, which was becoming popular at the time. According to Alison Butler, author of Victorian Occultism and the Making of Modern Magic, Elias Ashmole, sorry, I have to say it that way. His name was Ashmole. So Elias Ashmole had one of the earliest known Masonic initiations in 1646, was known to have copied out the manifestos in a letter requesting to join the Rosicrucian fraternity. I don't know who he sent it to, but he did was like, I'm going to copy these and hopefully get joined into, right?
Is that famous files in the history of witches? Anyways,
The Ashmole files?
Ashmole thing. Yeah, wasn't that it? Anyways,
Yes.
pretty sure.
So in the 1750s, the Freemason and alchemist Hermann Fichtold founded the Order of the Golden and Rosy Cross, Orden des Gold und Rosenkreuz. And candidates, though, for that one were expected to be master masons in good standing with their lodge. So you had to be a mason to join this, which also means you could only be a dude, because chicks can't be masons, because whatever. So alchemy was to be a central study for members who wanted to be a member of this. And it's all about finding that inner light. The order developed elaborate rituals and established a grade system for its members. This will be important for Golden Dawn later. So the higher the grade, the more senior and more adept in the order you were. And their first grade was junioress, and the highest grade, grade 9, was a magus. And that's something that we'll hear over and over again, and we have it in this show too, right? So in 1858, the Fraternitas Rosae Crucis was founded by sex magician Pascal Beverly Randolph in America after he was supposedly initiated into a German Rosicrucian fraternity. They claim the founding fathers as members, including Ben Franklin and Thomas Paine, and say that the first American council was in 1772. They believe that a soul can form a direct link between the individual and God, and they call this state of spiritual development soul consciousness or soul illumination. And illumination of the soul is symbolized by the fully bloomed rose in the center of the cross of transmutation, aka the Rosy Cross. Yeah, in 1865, this is going to be an important one for the Golden Dawn. The Societas Rosicruciana was founded by the Freemason Robert Whitworth Little, who said he took the grade structure from members from the old rites from the Order of the Rosy Cross he discovered in the storerooms of Freemasons Hall. So they are open to only Master Masons of a Grand Lodge, also excluding women, and they have to declare a belief in the fundamental Trinitarian Christian faith. They first met quarterly, where they would dress up, have rituals, and do lectures on esoteric topics. Now, they're divided into 3 orders, and the first order meets in a college. A college can confer the first 4 degrees of the society, which are known as grades. And you have to do each grade for a minimum of 6 months before you can move on. And the emphasis in the work is learning. So every member is encouraged to deliver a paper of their own work on some topic of interest in open college. So nerds. These are a bunch of nerds that are meeting together to talk about nerdy stuff. Now, their grades, their grades, they sound like dinosaurs. So grade 1 is a zealoter. Grade 2 is a theoricus. Grade 3 is a practicus. And grade 4 is a philosophus. And
dinosaurs.
They do, right? All right. So they have a first order, they have a second order, and that's like another grouping of it. That's a provincial level. And so they're headed by a chief adept. And once you get to that level, you have to wait 1 year between moving up. So they're trying to slow people down from moving up too fast, right? Then you can finally become, I forget how many years it takes, but then you become a supreme magus, and that's grade 9.
Got it.
I thought maybe their outfits would be interesting, but no. The first order wear a jewel medal hanging on a green ribbon, and the ribbon changes to yellow for fraters within the second order. When they become a celebrant, they wear a red robe, and then you continue to wear a red robe. It's not that. Yeah. Lodges now exist in England, Scotland, Canada, France, Portugal, Romania, Ireland, United States. They're still taking members, but you still have to be a member of you have to be a Master Mason and believe in the stuff. There is also the Societas Rosicrucian in America, the SRIA, and they take both men and women, and you don't have to belong to anything else. There is also the AMORC. Now, this is the largest Rosicrucian order currently in existence. AMORC stands for Ancient and Mystical Order of the Rosae Crucis. They are a worldwide order of mystics. They say that the Rosicrucian path incorporates both metaphysics and mysticism. Metaphysics is that which falls beyond the 5 physical senses. For example, intuition, visualization, and healing techniques. Mysticism is simply the process by which you may eventually experience direct conscious union with the absolute divine mind, universal intelligence, or what some Rosicrucian students call the God of their hearts. So to join this one, You don't have to believe in a god. You just have to kind of believe in like an inner thing. And you also need to buy their stuff. So AMORC is $150 paid annually or $15 paid monthly. And that includes 4 new monographs each month, as well as participation in many Rosicrucian activities. They have enough funds that in 1990, the head of the order, the Imperator, Gary Stewart, was accused of embezzling $3.5 million from the AMORC bank account. And then he left and formed his own order. Good on you, Gary. That's a way to start a cult. Yeah, I'm always like, all right. I appreciate the fact that you didn't go to prison, you just started another order. So at least I found some scandal.
There you go.
So that
The word Rosicrucian makes me want shellfish. I think of crustaceans for some reason.
I can see that.
That's where my brain goes.
Yeah. So
Offense to the Rosicrucians, sorry.
you never know. You may meet one. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, they just seem like they're
So
interested in they seem fine. They're
Masons, it's fine.
no, the last ones don't have to be the last one. You can join AMORC and not be a Mason, and you can join the American Society Rosicruciana and not be a Mason.
Okay.
And you can be either we can join those. We can't join the other ones.
Right.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios podcast network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.